that's the run-up to the crisis. With the collapse, in varying degrees, the process that had characterized the past decade has to be unwound. Now, in some cases, the imperative to unwind is more immediate than others. Some countries, like many of the peripheral European countries, experience what we call a sudden stop. That is, from really 1 month to the next, a country like Greece found that it could not borrow anything, which is the experience of developing countries in these countries. You know, when Brazil or Argentina or Thailand or Mexico gets into a debt crisis, they essentially wake up one day and, having been able to borrow pretty much anything they wanted to for the previous 5 years or whatever, wake up one day or 1 month and find they can't borrow anything. And so they have to adjust immediately. That was the case of Greece. It was the case of countries like Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia. It was the case of many of the peripheral European countries. By September, October 2008, these countries had to go from funding as much as 15% of their spending, 15% of GDP, by borrowing from abroad, to actually zeroing everything out. You no longer can borrow anything at any price. Or, in some cases, you could borrow, but it would be at punitive prices, 15, 20, 25% interest rates. The US didn't face that kind of a sudden stop. We still are the key currency country. We're the largest financial market in the world. There's still faith in the dollar. And, of course, compared to some of the rest of the world, we looked not good, but better. So if you're an investor looking to put your money somewhere, by the end of 2008, Europe looks even worse than the US. So the US did not experience a sudden stop. Nonetheless, it experienced many of the features of a debt crisis with the collapse in financial markets, bankruptcies of large private financial, near bankruptcies or bankruptcies of many large financial institutions. In fact, if it had not been for the bailout, essentially the main actors in the American financial system would have gone bankrupt. They were officially bankrupt in terms of just preparing their assets and liabilities bailed out by the federal government. But so whether due to a sudden stop, as in the peripheral European countries, or in the case of the US, this massive financial crisis, the process that had characterized the previous decade has to come to an end. And if you think about it, when a country is borrowing from the rest of the world, the money it borrows allows it to do things that it could otherwise not do. We could consume more than we produced. We could invest more than we saved. The government could spend more than it took in. And as the crisis hits, those relationships have to reverse themselves. Immediately, in the case of the peripheral Europeans, slowly in our case. That is, we have to start producing more than we consume. We have to start saving more than we invest. And the government has to start taking in more than it spends in current expenditures. Right? All of which really amounts to austerity.